today to talk about the executive order that I signed on February 22nd. First of all, I want to welcome Legislator John Ferretti and Legislator Samantha Getz, who are joining us, and I appreciate the support of the legislature on all our efforts. And of course, the former Olympic gold medal champion, Caitlyn Jenner. Let's hear it for her. And Caitlyn, we really appreciate you coming to join with us today because, as I've said before, my executive order has one goal, and that is to make sure that competition is fair and safe here in Nassau County, and that we protect women and girls so that when they train for an athletic competition, when they train to get on a team, when they're in a meet or a tournament, that they have the ability to compete fairly. And again, what we've said is this is not anti-trans. This is protecting women and girls who are a protected class under federal law in the United States Constitution. And I was disappointed to receive a cease and desist order from Attorney General Letitia James, who basically said that we had to cease and desist from enforcing the executive order, which again we feel is not only the right thing to do, but it is the legal thing to do, as women and girls are a protected class. And as a result thereof, I consulted with our lawyers who are here with us today, and they made a determination that not only was the executive order legal, but that we had an obligation to defend it. And therefore, we initiated an action in federal district court of the Eastern District of New York, basically asking the court to put an order in, a preliminary injunction against the Attorney General from trying to enforce her cease and desist order and any other affirmative action that her office might take. So I want to also thank the Mullen family, who are co-plaintiffs in this lawsuit, this federal lawsuit. And as you might also know, the New York Civil Liberties Union and others have initiated a state court action of which our same legal team will be defending the county and the executive order in state court. And just to tell you, we are very confident that the courts will make a determination that what we did is legal. And again, we're here to protect women and girls. We're not here to pick sides or to exclude anybody. Biological males who identify themselves as females have other outlets where they can compete. They can compete against other biological males. They can compete in a co-ed league. They can compete in a transgender league if they choose to form one. But we feel that it's not a level playing field when biological males compete against women. It's not safe because biological males are bigger, stronger, and faster. And I'm very, very, again, very happy to have this American hero with us, not only just a hero in athletic competition, but a hero standing up for principles and things that she believes to be right and not being afraid to say what she feels and to say it very forcefully and very strongly. So without further ado, I'm very happy to welcome Caitlyn Jenner to our county, and I'm going to turn the floor over to her.
No problem. Thank you very much, Bruce. By the way, a good name. In 1976, I won the Olympic decathlon, was declared the world's greatest athlete, and I did it in a world record performance in Montreal. And the reason I say that is because I have been around sports my entire life. I have seen every aspect of sports. I have seen the valleys, I've seen the peaks, I know the politics, the athletes, the coaches, the governing bodies, the media, the owners, the advertisers. I've worked with everybody. I have witnessed the growth in opportunity and protection in women's sports, specifically in this country, with the adoption of Title IX in 1972. Now, let's kind of move forward about 50 years, and I have shared my struggle that I have dealt with my entire life with gender dysphoria. I decided to live my life publicly. I had no choice. I was a public figure as a trans person. I have empathy for all LGBT people, and I have a thorough understanding of all the struggles, no matter how different our circumstances may be. Today in this country and in the world, we're at a crossroads. Athletic governing bodies, judicial systems, executive actions, legislative bodies are all grappling with how to handle the topic of trans athletes. It's on a massive scale. Specifically, the biological realities that exist that provide for advantages and even lead to physical harm when trans women or biological males compete in sports against women. In the United States, we have a president, Joe Biden, who has called for an amendment to Title IX as we know it. In effect, erases the protection and the hard-fought battles that women have fought in sports. In New York, we have an activist Attorney General, Letitia James, that alleges, and it seems to think that her state laws and preferences supersede federal law, specifically Title IX and the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees no state shall deny a person equal protection under the law. When I competed in 1972 and 76 Olympics on behalf of the good old US of A, there was a clear problem. Some of you more mature people out there may remember this, but we had the East German women. We had the Soviet women that at that time, I don't know, most of them didn't even identify. You looked at them, you didn't know what you were looking at, physically as women. Let me give you a brief little story. My last lifting workout, 5 days before I competed in Montreal, I go to the gym in the village, and I am pumped up. I've been lifting weights. And in walks this girl, massive size. She was an East German discus thrower. Huge. I mean, honestly, the pimples on her back, the whole thing, you know something was going on here. This girl outlifted me so bad it was a joke. And I said to myself, I got to get out of this gym. I got to try to win the games in 5 days. And the women are outlifting me in there. But that's what we were dealing with back then. Now, it is also a simple solution instituted by the IOC, and that is saliva tests showing the DNA of the athletes. Women have to be XX. And it is done in a manner to protect the integrity of the competition. Today, the problem is even more clear. Trans women are competing against women, taking valuable opportunities for the long protected class under Title IX and causing physical harm. The difference between men and women exists based on DNA, or your chromosomes, which leads to our physical development regardless of a trans person's hormones, surgeries, status in transition. There are massive advantages and undeniable differences from male development, basically going through male puberty. The solution is simple. When it comes to athletics, participation, with the biological sex. You have to compete in the biological sex that you were born. This is critical to protecting the integrity of competition in women's sports. An example of these circumstances, well, they're endless. I cover these stories, it seems like on a day-to-day basis. This issue has no bounds. It's worldwide. It's all over the U.S., at all levels of sports and every types of sports. I have covered swimming, golf, biking, track and field, hockey, football, boxing, basketball, and today I'm going to add a new one, volleyball, to the list. One of the plaintiffs in the county's lawsuit is the Mullen family. Now, the Mullins, actually they're here, Mark and Janine, have a 16-year-old daughter who plays volleyball. Earlier, you may remember this on TV, in North Carolina, a high school girl volleyball player was spiked by a biological man in the head, causing her to fall to the ground with neck injuries and a devastating concussion. She recently made headlines when she testified in front of the North Carolina State Legislature, saying, "I may be the first to speak on this subject before you, but I'm not going to be the last." The Mullins family's daughter should not have to be worried about being the next person to have to speak out about this matter. We need families to speak up now. Before something happens like what happened in North Carolina. Now, you know, we talk about this issue, and we say, oh, men and this and that. Let me just take a little break and tell you exactly what we're talking about here in volleyball. You know, we think of it as a non-contact sport, but these are the statistics. First, the women's net is 7.5 inches lower, making it easier to spike. Now, the average height at a high level of volleyball, men are 8 inches taller than women, okay? And they can jump 6 inches higher, males, okay? Now, the average spike for the men, a good spike, is 82 miles an hour. The average spike for women, 64 miles an hour, 30% greater velocity playing men's. And that's why we have to protect women's sports. New York State wants to prioritize illusions like social affirmation and those trans people that we want to compete with the women, despite their biological merit characteristics and advantages. There is an entire place where they can either get harmed at the expense to the women and disregard women and girls. A federally protected class under Title IX that each state has to apply equal protection under the law according to the U.S. Constitution. In New York, right now in New York, it is unrecognizable. I grew up here. It's living hellscape with the migrant crisis, rampant violent crime. I mean, I was in California and I hear about somebody got shot in the head on the subway system. And then as I'm leaving, I find out another one did. The National Guard is being deployed to the subways. Higher taxes, higher problems than that. Record amount of people and businesses leaving the state. Meanwhile, the female-led Attorney General's office has prioritized one thing, her political future. In New York, while the New Yorkers are out there dealing with all the new harsh realities of living in New York City, the Attorney General goes from protecting a former, or prosecuting a former president in the local court, and now has inserted herself into another hot topic that will get her more press coverage, more camera time, while pandering to her supporters under the guidance of inclusion and equity, and using nothing but emotional appeals. Do not be fooled. This is an elected politician perpetrating a political stunt against Nassau County. Title IX, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, this AG has it there. She thinks that her state and her office is above U.S. law. Don't let this AG fool you and use the LGBT people for political gain. New Yorkers know this is wrong. America knows this is wrong. You know, I was born in Mount Kisco, New York, and I have represented our nation proudly as an Olympic champion and the world's greatest athlete. I flew here this morning to stand with Nassau County in their fight for the protection of women and girls in sports. Let's lead the way for all sports. I would ask if the federal courts provide for a quick and speedy trial to protect women's sports once and for all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so again, Caitlyn, thank you so much for coming to Nassau County, and you did spend your youth in Westchester County. We won't hold that against you.
That's okay.
And if you want, we can find you a real estate broker. We've got lovely homes here in Nassau County. I also want to again thank Sophia Hutchins and Caitlyn's staff for helping in facilitating this appearance today. Caitlyn is not going to take any questions at this time. She's going to stand by her statement, but I will take a few questions if anybody has any questions at this time. No questions. Great. Carolyn Gussoff.
Ms. Jenner calls it a political stunt on the side of Letitia James. It begs the question, you're charged with Nassau County safety and taxpayers. Are you aware of even one transgender athlete that has tried to play on one of these teams? And let's note that they're not professional teams. These are school-age children, correct, and college age. Is there even one in Nassau County that you're aware of?
You know, that's a very fair question, and the reason why we did this at this time is because this is the point where we are now giving out permits and licensing to use our facilities, our ball fields, our swimming stadium, our other facilities that we have here in the county. And we heard from a lot of girls and a lot of women that they were very, very unhappy with what was going on around the country. And quite frankly, one of them said to me, you know, do we have to get injured before anybody takes any action? So I made a determination that I wanted it to be clear and transparent to everybody what our position was here in Nassau County, so that you don't have to be in a situation where you get spiked with a volleyball and get a concussion, or you don't have a situation like occurred in New England where you have a girls' team where the coach found that it was so unsafe. They had this biological male who was basically tossing the girls around like they were flies, and he says, I'm not taking any more of it. Some of my girls have gotten injured. I'm taking them off the court. You don't have to wait to get punched in the nose to take action in government. When you know there's an issue, when you know there's a problem, you should be proactive, and that's what we're doing. And again, there are avenues for transgender athletes to compete, and it's instructive to note that this is not a ban against transgender biological females who are transgender. They can compete against males because, again, the fairness issue isn't there. The safety issue isn't there. So this is about fairness and safety. And, you know, basically, I think it's a bullying issue. I think biological males who want to engage in athletics against biological females that don't want it, it's bullying. And quite frankly, we don't go for bullying of any kind here in Nassau County. We have every race, religion, ethnic group, and lifestyle here in Nassau County. We're a welcoming place, and we're a loving place. And certainly, this is not to denigrate anybody. It's to protect women and girls and the integrity of their sport and their safety here in Nassau County.
I love your question. I just want to respond. If the left wants to fight this battle on this hill, it's a losing battle. This is an 80-20 issue. 80% of the people out there do not want biological boys in women's sports. It's only 20%. I don't even know who they are. A 20% issue. And to be honest with you, if they want to fight this battle, they're going to lose. I mean, every day of my life, I walk through an airport, I walk downtown or something. People come up to me every day and say, thank you for being out there to protect women's sports. And I have been consistent with this right from the beginning, you know, and it's important that we protect women's sports. So we will win the battle.
Okay. Thank you all very much. You had a question, sir?
Why is Ms. Jenner best suited to support your executive order? There's lots of athletes out there. Were you able to get support from other athletes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Caitlyn said it right. Every place I go, women are coming up to me. Our receptionist has been very busy fielding calls. They're probably 9-1 in favor of the executive order. We had a woman call the other day. She said, I just want you to know I'm a lifelong Democrat, I'm a lesbian athlete, and I think Mr. Blakeman is right. So again, this isn't, and it shouldn't be a partisan issue. This is a common sense issue.
But why aren't the other athletes up here to support you? I mean, Ms. Jenner's here, not the other athletes.
What other athletes are you talking about?
There's other athletes that support your executive
Sure.
order. So why not just bring them to support?
Well, for obvious reasons, Caitlyn's the star of the show. She's an Olympic hero. And I'll tell you what, we've got a great legal team, but I would tell my legal team to take everything that Caitlyn said and put it in the brief, because she made the argument that I think is the common sense, smart argument that outlines exactly what the law is and why the court should protect what we're doing.
Can you just explain the why? You know, why did Ms. Jenner make the trip all the way here to Nassau County? Some may be watching and saying, you know, this isn't exactly happening here right now. Why would someone like Ms. Jenner take the time to do this?
Well, it is happening here right now. It's happening all across the United States. And
Let me just
yeah,
make
go
a
ahead.
statement.
Go ahead.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. I came here, and I've been on this passion for the last couple of years, since swimming at Penn State, you know. I'm passionate about it. It's amazing how much flack I get, and all I'm trying to do is protect women, you know. But this is just another area where we can promote women in sports. We can promote Title IX and the differences that it has made for scholarships, for programs for women. There's so many more women that are competing now in sports. My fear is that if this woke agenda that's out there, you know, the DEI world that's out there, if this continues, it'll ruin women's sports over the next 10, 20 years. Let's stop it now while we can. But what's going to happen 20 years from now, when young girls are going to want to go out for sports, and they're going to say, oh, I don't want to play girls' sports. I have to play against the boys. It's not right. We need to stop it right now and make the rules. We are winning some battles. Just last week, I did a piece on Fox that the NXXT Tour, it's the Women's Golf Tour, which is the feeder tour for the LPGA, okay? Go back a little bit. In 1950, the LPGA put into their, when it was founded, put into their rules that you had to be female at birth. And that was good for 60 years. And then in 2010, the woke world got a hold of them and said, oh, let's just throw that out, okay? There's not a lot of trans golfers, you know, out there. Finally, 14 years later, it was first challenged by Haley Davidson. And so I kind of jumped in there, wrote an op-ed piece for the Daily Mail. And you always wonder when you do those, is anybody listening? Well, somebody was. Stuart McKinnon, who is the CEO of the NXT, went back to female at birth, which I thought was just absolutely perfect. So the feeder series going to the LPGA, trans athletes will not be allowed to make that move. But there's only one in 14 years. It's not like this is a big issue. It's more of an issue of protecting women's sports. Okay, that's what we're out there trying to do. Thank you.